Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd take today to show you how to use our Green Tree Media Simplicity Action Set. So I went ahead and I opened up a photo from a recent senior session, and the way I typically edit my pictures is very clean and simple because I want the photo to speak for itself. I don't necessarily want a bunch of effects or crazy textures or over-the-top things to distract from the beautiful subject in my photos. So I'm going to show you how I would use this simplicity action set on this senior photo. Now I would start with our soft skin action. So we're just going to highlight it and press play. And it's going to run and do its thing. And then it's going to pop up and give us some tips on how to use it in case you're not watching this video. So the first thing you need to make sure is that this layer mask is black, and it's currently not. So we're going to switch our swatches over so that black is in the foreground. Select your bucket tool and then just fill in this layer. So now we're back to our original, which is what we want. Then click your brush tool. Make sure that it's at 100% and it's nice and soft. And we're going to switch back to white because we're going to paint on our skin so that we're covering it all with our nice creamy soft skin layer. Now, because this is a pretty bold softener, and what I mean by that is it's strong. It's going to be a very strong smoother. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you avoid any area that should not be softened, like her hairline. That's why I'm not getting very close to her hairline. You're going to want to avoid her eyebrows and her eyelashes, and I'm even not going to go over her smile line here. I'm just going to go beside it. That way it's still getting some of the effect, but it's not going to disappear completely because I don't want it to go away. I just want the skin itself to look a little smoother. And if you're watching this and thinking, oh my gosh, that's so dramatic, we do have something that we'll do right after this to bring back some of the texture because I don't want her to look like a Barbie doll because we're real people here. Okay. And I'm going to do her hand here a little bit because she's got some red marks. And that's pretty good. So, like I was saying, now we're going to, actually, before I do the next step, I want you to select the photo layer over here in your layers palette, if it lets me. And then I use the patch tool. It's my favorite tool for fixing blemishes, because it just lets me come in here and I can highlight the area I want to correct, like this dark patch right here. So we don't want our seniors to look like they're too tired. And then you just click this and drag it to the area you want it to mimic. And I want it to be brighter, so I'm pulling this up to a lighter patch on her skin, which for me right now is her forehead. Okay, and that looks pretty good. You see how that completely disappeared. And I'm going to do the same thing, well, if my computer quits acting up on me. Same thing right here. Come on. All right. That's pretty good. If I wanted to be more detail oriented, I'd probably take a clone brush and brush this in here, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to say that's good. Now, like I was saying, we're going to add that texture back in. So if you go back to your actions palette, you'll see this add pores to skin. And we're going to click play. And this window will pop up to let you know you should only run this after you've run the soft skin action. So go ahead and click OK or continue. And it's really subtle, but it just added a light powder texture to her skin here. So if we zoom in, you can see that. So it's just as though she put like a powder foundation on top, which is perfect. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to brighten up her eyes a little bit, because I think eyes are awesome and I like for my client's eyes to sparkle. So I'm just going to click my eye sparkle and press play. And click continue. Okay, now I'm going to make sure this layer is on overlay. Well, I'm going to click stop first. Now I'm going to make sure this layer is on overlay. Come on. And then I'm going to take my brush tool, make sure it's white. I'm going to drop the opacity down to 20%. And then I'm going to make my brush really tiny because I'm going to want this to be inside her eye. The first thing I want to do is she has these lovely little catch lights, which I love and I'm always trying to get. So I'm just going to make these a little more dramatic and click on those a couple times. Now the next thing I want to do is, because she has very dark eyes, I want to highlight them a little bit. So I'm going to make my brush even smaller and I'm just going to swoop in here a little bit. Perfect. And that's all the more I'm going to do, because like I said, I don't want it to be dramatic. I just want it to be a nice, subtle improvement. Because I'm shooting natural light, so I need that little extra. Okay, now I do have a teeth and eye white, but her eye whites are pretty bright, and we're not showing much of her teeth, so I'm not going to use that today, but it's super simple to use. What I am going to do is I'm going to warm this picture up. I like my photos to have a nice warm tone, and since I shoot natural light, they tend to have a bluish hue to them. So I'm going to click warm it up and press play, and it's a really quick action. I mean, it's already done. So you can see how that gave it a nice warm tone. Now if I wanted to stay simple, I would just click on my boost levels action, and it's just going to increase the highlights and the shadows of the picture. And that's a pretty nice clean edit. I'd be happy with that on its own. However, for the sake of this tutorial, let me show you what our super boost does, because sometimes it's fun to have a really dramatic effect. And when I say dramatic, it's dramatic for the simple person in me. So if I click super boost here and press play, this is going to take the layers we already have and it's going to merge them into one and overlay it on top. So this was what it looked like before. Maybe. Oh, darn computer. And there you go. And then this is what it looks like after. So you can see how that's pretty dramatic. It brings out the rosy colors in her cheeks and the pink in her lips. So it's kind of nice for that. If I wanted to do some other things to this, I might go and add a vignette to just kind of highlight her a little bit more. And maybe I wanted her eyes to pop more, so I drag my eye layer above my super boost layer. And that's a little too much, so I'm going to tone it down a little bit in the opacity. But it's giving it a little extra pop for this dramatic shot. And then the last thing I'll show you is we have these lovely sunbursts is what we call them. They're white, gold, or orange, and I tend to like my yellow tones, so I'm going to pull a golden burst into here. Okay, and it just creates that on its own layer. So all you have to do is, oops, I'm going to switch to my arrow tool. Go ahead, and if you hit Command T, it'll let you change the size of this. I like this to be up in the corner, so I'm going to put it up there, and then I'm going to really expand it. But I want it to look like the sun's coming from over here, even though it's clearly coming from over there. But for the sake of this is fine. You can move this wherever you want it. You can make it as big or as small as you want it. And you could leave it like this, but I like it to be more subtle because that's how I edit. So I'm going to just change it to soft light. So you can see it gives it a nice glowy yellow tone there. That's before and that's after. So it's subtle, but it adds a little more warmth to the already warmly processed picture. So that's a pretty quick and simple view of how to use some of the actions in our new action set. All of them are very simple. I designed it so that you can build your photo with them, because I've always hated when I purchase an action set and you click play and you have no idea what it's going to look like, and when it's done you don't like it and you have to start all over again. So rather than have that annoyance, I wanted you to be able to click one action at a time and build it to look the way you wanted it to look, to make it very straightforward and simple. And so that's why we've created our Green Tree Media Simplicity action set. I will be working on some other ones for the future, but for right now, since this is how I edit my pictures, it felt like the right way to approach it for all of you. I hope this was informative and super fun, and that you'll have fun using your Green Tree Media Simplicity actions. If you have questions, feel free to contact me at Stephanie, STEPHANIE, at greentreemediaonline.com. And if you want to see more of our products, check out www.greentree-online/wordpress/for-the-shop. I'll make sure to put the link in the description. But I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all soon.